If you're a Canadian dreaming of a comfortable retirement, this video is for you. Navigating the maze of retirement planning in Canada can be overwhelming. How does CPP and OAS work? When should you contribute to your RRSP? What about a TFSA? Fear not, folks, because today we are going to break it all down in a way that's easy to understand and even easier to implement. It's your favourite Scotsman back again, and today we are tackling a topic that's on the minds of many Canadians: retirement planning. Now, I know what you're thinking, retirement planning, isn't that just a fancy way of saying save money? Well, yes and no. While saving money is certainly a crucial part of the equation, if it was that simple, I wouldn't be in a job. Let's start with the basics. The Canada Pension Plan, or CPP. How does it work and what can you expect to receive? The CPP is a contributory program, meaning that both you and your employer make contributions throughout your working life. The amount you receive in retirement is based on your earnings history and the number of years that you've contributed. Surprise, surprise, to find out exactly what that number is, the government doesn't exactly make it easy. On the plus side though, you've got me to walk you through it. One approach is to consider taking a look at the yearly maximum pensionable earnings. A good estimate is that if your salary has consistently been close to or above the maximum amount for 39 years or more, then you're likely to receive close to the maximum payment, which is currently $1,364.60 a month if you take your CPP at the normal retirement age of 65. I'll also include a link to that YMPE, that's what we call it for short, in the show note. The best option though is to call the CPP. And again, I'll leave the details in the show notes. You may have in the past received or requested a statement of contributions from the CPP or logged into your My Service Canada account, but please do be aware that the estimates that are provided are exactly that. They're estimates based on assumptions that might not even be correct. So if you call the CPP and give them a more in-depth detail about your situation, the estimated length of your career and how much money you're going to make in that time, they'll be able to give you a much more accurate number and how much you can expect to receive. You can take your CPP as early as age 60 or as late as age 70, but there are consequences to taking it early, and on the flip side, some nice benefits to delaying. Your CPP is decreased by 0.6% per month for every month that you take it prior to age 65. If you choose to take your CPP at age 60, this means you're getting 36% less than if you took it at age 65 for life. The current maximum monthly pension you can receive at age 60 is $873.34 a month. Conversely, electing to delay your CPP until after age 65 results in an increase of 0.7% per month, which works out to be a grand total of 42% more if you delay all the way up to age 70. There's no further increases after age 70, and the current maximum monthly pension you can get at age 70 is $1,937.73. Now, you don't need me to tell you that there's a pretty big difference between those numbers, so do not take this decision lightly. Generally, I don't recommend to clients that they take CPP early unless they simply need the money or their life expectancy is significantly shortened. I'm not going to go into the full ins and outs today on reasons to consider taking early or delaying. We've done some other videos based on this topic, so do check those out once this video is done. A few things to keep in mind. With how the CPP is calculated, not every year you contribute counts. What I mean by that is that the 8 lowest earning years of your working life, they're dropped out and completely excluded from the calculation. This can be a benefit if you had low income earning years or years with no income at all. Also, if you took years out to raise children, then these years can be excluded from your CPP calculation under what is called the child rearing provision. This means that these years won't skew the average contributions. You do have to apply for this though when you apply for your CPP, so keep this in mind. It's not something that happens automatically. So that is CPP covered. What about OAS or old age security? This is a little simple, sort of. You don't contribute to this plan. The benefits are the same for everyone as long as you've lived in Canada for 40 years after the age of 18. The maximum payment is currently $713.34 monthly for ages 65 to 74, and $784.67 a month for ages 75 and over. The OAS increases every quarter with inflation, so these are the April to June 2024 amounts. If you haven't lived in Canada for 40 years after the age of 18, then you have to do a wee bit of math. You have to tally up every year that you've lived in Canada and divide it by 40. As an example, let's say you've lived in Canada for 30 years after the age of 18. You take 30, you divide it by 40, which equals 0.75. You then take the maximum OAS payment, which is $713.34, and you multiply it by 0.75. This equals $535. Just a quick 10-second break here. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. We would really appreciate it. And on top of that, you won't miss another video. Alright, back to what you came for. Like CPP, you do have options and when to start taking your OAS, but they're not quite as flexible. Age 65 is the earliest you can start taking it. You do have the option though to delay up to age 70, and you do get an increased benefit every month for the rest of your life for delaying. The difference is that you only get 0.6% of an increase for every month you delay your OAS, as opposed to the 0.7% you get for delaying CPP. If you go all the way up to age 70, this means that you get a total of 36% more every month for the rest of your life, versus 42% more on the CPP. So, if you're choosing to delay just one of them, then go for the CPP, as you do get more bang for your buck. Old age security does have a wee bit of a curveball that you should be aware of, the dreaded clawback. If your income exceeds just shy of $91,000 for 2024, then you've got to think about that. I'm not going to go into detail on what that is today, but if you're concerned that you may be impacted, check out another video of mine on 5 ways to avoid OAS clawback. Here's the kicker. While these programs can provide a solid foundation for your retirement income, there's a very good chance that they won't be enough to maintain your desired lifestyle. That's where your personal savings come into play. And registered retirement savings plans, or RRSPs, and tax-free savings accounts, TFSAs, are two powerful tools at your disposal. RRSPs offer tax-deferred growth, meaning that you don't pay taxes on the money you contribute until you draw them out in retirement. This can be a huge advantage, especially if you're in a higher tax bracket during your working years. TFSAs, on the other hand, allow you to contribute after-tax dollars, but any growth or withdrawals completely tax-free at any point in time. Now, I know what you're thinking, but how do I decide which one is right for me? Well, that's where a little strategic planning comes into play. So don't worry, I wasn't going to leave you hanging. First off, we're going to look at when not to use an RRSP. Contributing to an RRSP, it's often the automatic default savings option for Canadians when it comes to retirement, but it can sometimes be detrimental. As a general rule of thumb, if your annual salary is under $50,000 a year, don't bother with RRSPs. If you're making under $50,000 a year, you're in the lowest tax bracket. Contributing to your RRSP could have a negative impact. Let's look at an example. We have Jim here. He's making 50 grand a year and he contributes 5 grand to his RRSP. He files his taxes, and based on that contribution, Jim's going to get back roughly 20% or $1,000 back as a refund. $1,000 in your pocket that you didn't have before, nobody's going to sniff at that. But fast forward a few years, Jim's now retired, and Jim's spouse Janet was a government worker with a sizable pension. To reduce Janet's tax bill, Jim and Janet decide to income split the pension. The result, the income Jim reports in his tax return is $62,000 a year. If Jim wanted to take that $5,000 back out of his RRSP that he contributed a few years earlier, he would be paying roughly 30% in tax, or $1,500. Here's where my expertise comes in. $1,500 is in fact more than $1,000. Next, we're going to look at the TFSA. There's a strong case to be made that all retirees should keep a balance in their TFSA. Why? It's easy to access tax-free capital. If all your money is locked up in an RRSP, what are you going to do when the car breaks down, or the roof needs to be reshingled, or the furnace goes? Remember, every dollar you take out of your RRSP is taxable. If you do need to take out a large amount for an emergency situation like those just mentioned, this could end up putting you in a suboptimal situation from a tax standpoint. How much should you have in your TFSA heading into retirement? Well, that depends on your situation and how many things you own that could essentially break. If you rent, then you're likely going to need much less than a homeowner. Assuming you earn more than my rule of thumb $50,000 a year, my favourite retirement strategy is to contribute to the RRSP, take the refund and put it into the TFSA. This way, you're getting the best of both worlds. Alright, we've covered a lot of ground today, but this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to retirement planning. We haven't talked about employer-sponsored pensions, other sources of income, and of course, the most important of all, creating a retirement of intention, meaning, and purpose. If you found this video helpful, hit the good old like and subscribe if you haven't done already, and make sure you watch this video on the average retirement income. You will love it.